It's me drinking my cup of tea.
Is it recording?
Yeah, see, it's got a little red dot there. Yeah.
Actually, let's see it. So I'm going to sit.
Yeah, well, should I get started? Or?
Yeah, I think so.
Just assume that there's people there.
Let's just assume that we have an audience. You have an audience of one.
Okay, I'll just move this down here. Ooh, it is that weird thing. Okay, recording into the blind. I used to do this with our pilot training, like if we didn't know if there was a air traffic tower that was actually turned on, we just like broadcast from the aircraft as if there was anyway, because not all airports have, or like airfields have an active air traffic control tower. So just pretend that there is. Okay, well, let's get started. It's just Inez and I just chewing the fat here and having a bit of a chat.
Whoop.
Okay, so hi everybody, my name is Adrienne Hannan. I'm here broadcasting from Wellington. My webinar today is called Iron-Librarian, hopefully, and today this will probably last maybe 45 minutes. We'll see how we go, probably not the whole hour, but if you've got questions we can deal with those as well. So here we go.
Somebody!
Hello. Joanna. Okay, so let's get started. So I'm work for Wellington City Libraries. I'm the Children's and Youth Services Coordinator, and I'll tell you a little bit more about what I do later on. So I've been obsessed with doing Ironman for a wee while, and when I talk to people about it, I actually realised that, well, I know everything there is to know about Ironman. A lot of people actually don't even know what it is and that it's even a thing. So I thought I'd illustrate a little bit first. So first of all, none of these are Ironman. Well, not the Ironman I'm referring to either, although I'm pretty sure that we'd like either one of these at home. Both would be very handy. It's more like this. So hopefully now you're thinking, aha, I know what she means. But hopefully it's not this. But we'll see. I haven't done it before, so I've got no idea. This could potentially be me. But you'll notice that this guy's actually he's actually crossed the finish line, I think. So it's okay to collapse on the far side of the finish line, but I'm not hoping to collapse on the near side of the finish line. So okay, so I registered to do Ironman earlier this year, and Ironman is an extreme form of triathlon. It's one of the toughest events in the sporting world, although there actually are even like there's things called Ultraman, which are actually like next level crazy. For those of you that don't think that Ironman's crazy enough, it's a 3.8 kilometre open water swim, followed by a 180-kilometre cycle, followed by just finishing it off with a cheeky marathon towards the finish line. And it usually finishes in tiers, one form or the other. So it's these are all done consecutively. So you start the event first thing with the swim, and then you have to transition as quickly as you can into a cyclist, and then turn yourself into a runner after you've completed the cycle. So it's usually one very, very long day. You've got 17 hours to finish it in. I'm hoping to do it in a lot less than that. Maybe somewhere around sort of 12 to 14 hours would be great for a first timer. The winners normally do it in 8 hours, 9 hours. Sometimes I think there's been some records set even faster than that. So it's one very long day. The Ironman event is in Taupo, and it's in March next year. So Ironman started out in Hawaii, and the rumour is that Chuck Norris decided to go and do some exercise one day, and a whole lot of people followed him, and that was the very first Ironman. And it was run in Hawaii and Kona for a number of years. They decided to take it internationally, and the second event ever run was in Taupo in New Zealand. So New Zealand has the most long-running, prestigious Ironman outside of Hawaii. So with the Hawaiian Ironman, you can't just go and register for and enter it. You have to qualify by doing another Ironman somewhere around the world. And the Taupo Ironman is one of the favourites for people to use as a qualifying event. So it's really super competitive. So not only will I be spending the day actually doing these activities myself, but I'll be watching some reasonably good-looking, fit men and women do it better than me, which hopefully will ease the pain a little bit, looking at all these good-looking people in Lycra. So doing endurance events is actually not a new thing for me. I've been a runner for years. I like to say not a very good runner, but I think I've just got a bloody mind and determination to get to the finish line. So I've usually got there one way or the other. So for many years I've been an ultra long distance runner. So by ultra, I mean it's anything longer than a marathon. So there is actually a class of crazy people that run events longer than marathons. So I've completed a few of them over the time, many that have mostly been on like trail through bush and over mountains, up and down dale, and running through the day and often into the night as well, covering distances of 50 kilometres, 60, 70, 85, and this photo up here on the screen is me finishing a 100-kilometre run earlier this year. So that was running through the hills and the forest from Rotorua to Kawerau. And yep, it took me 15 and a half hours of running through the day to get to the finish line. You can see I'm pretty ecstatic. In fact, by the looks of the photo, I've actually given up on running and I'm just levitating by now. So that's a bit easier on the knees. Sometimes during the events I've had to carry navigation and survival gear with me, so carrying a heavy backpack of gear which can add to the overall challenge. So while endurance events are not new to me, becoming an expert in 3 disciplines and doing them one after the other was going to be a challenge and require me to do something extraordinary. Now I'm used to fitting running around my workload, but I was actually going to have to put in an extra special effort to get good at swimming and cycling. I've cycled and swum before, but I've only ever done it sort of recreationally, just having a bit of fun. I've never actually done it competitively or within an event before. So this was going to take a little bit of dedication. So I gave myself 9 months to convert myself from a runner to a triathlete and try and fit it around my life at the same time. So a bit more about my job. So I work for Wellington City Libraries. I'm the Children's and Youth Services Coordinator. This is a full-time position, sometimes often a bit more than full-time. As you know, there's always evening and weekend things happening that we go to. And my role is basically to keep all of our library services for 0 to 18-year-olds ticking over. So I prepare and get done whatever needs to be done in order for these services to happen. So whether that be staff training or resourcing, identifying service gaps and creating something to fill them, promoting out to children and parents and teachers, working with our local school librarians, things like that. And I do this for the whole library network. It's an amazing job. I love it. But I'm also very selfish. I've got another job. So just in case I wasn't busy enough, I'm also a medic in the New Zealand Army Reserve. So that's me down on the bottom right-hand side. So about 8 years ago, I decided to join the Army part-time, and they streamed me into medic training. So I'm trained up as a combat medic, which is like a frontline position in the Army. It's half soldier, half medic. So I have to be quite strong for that job. So I have to carry all the usual combat gear as well as all the medical equipment as well, and be able to keep up with the frontline soldiers and work with them. So it's quite interesting. I have these almost competing fitness requirements with having to have some like brute strength for the military, and then also have this endurance fitness with the running. So in one aspect I have to be this like muscle bound soldier, and the other one I need to be like a light skinny runner. So I seem to I stay in the middle somewhere. But it's a bit of a challenge trying to fit that around my day job as well. So over this year in particular, with going for Ironman, I've had to make sure that I'm extra efficient and in both my work and my personal life to make sure that my workload isn't impacted, that I still have the ability to do my job, and that also that I remain sane. You know, life is meant to be enjoyed, so I don't want to go over the top and just start hating everything. So I realised that the difference between who I am and who I want to be lies in what I do and what I have to do to get where I want to be. So this presentation is about some hints and tips on being efficient and in achieving your goals, and trying to mesh your work life and your personal life together, and create like a little bit of balance and make sure that the two complement each other. Doing Ironman is going to be a big thing. I love my job. That's also a big thing. The two actually have to work together in order for me to get stuff done. So this presentation, it's a bit of fun. Don't take it too seriously. I'm going to use a lot of, like, I guess, exercise and triathlon and training analogies, but I really hope that you'll be able to read through the lines and see that there are some points there that you'll be able to apply to your workplaces, and that you'll get something out of it while also having a little bit of a laugh at me at the same time. Quite happy for you to have a bit of jest in my direction. Okay, so I've got 8 points that I've come up with, and bear in mind that I haven't made it to the finish line of Ironman yet. I'm still learning. We're all students of life, and but this is what I've sort of picked up along the way. So point number 1, have a support crew. So this photo was taken on Labour weekend over in the Wairarapa. We did a 3-day cycling challenge, and on the 3rd day, our coach made us cycle up one of the biggest hills in the world. I swear it felt like Mount Everest. And we, at the top was the support crew van, and it was just the most amazing feeling to have achieved this goal and be able to relax and celebrate at the top. Over that 3-day weekend, we were challenged to cycle somewhere as close to 400 kilometres as we could, and this hill was probably in about kilometre number 380, so we were really, really tired. Okay, so no person is an island in either work or play. Humans are, we're really social creatures, and we thrive in community-based environments. I mean, throughout history, it's actually been a survival thing for us. Very rare for a human to be able to survive on its own. We've needed support people in our lives in order for us to survive and get where we want to be. So when doing a project or even, you know, doing Ironman, it's important to ensure that you have the right people around you to get the job done. Being a triathlete actually requires a whole extra help. It's not an individual effort. Just like if you're embarking on a new project at work, you just can't do things on your own. You need other people's advice and expertise and support to help you get things done. So when I embarked on my Ironman goal, I realised that I was going to need some people to help me out to increase my chances of success. At the same time, I also needed to be really open with my workplace, with my workers, so that they knew that I had a reason for being tired, hungry, or weird, or even being really motivated and energised. You're not always tired. Sometimes you have an amazing training session and you feel really great about it. When I decided to register for Ironman, I made sure that my family was on board with the decision. And this was because it was going to involve them in a really big way, so that they needed to be brought into the process early on. I also found a coach and a group of people to train with, and between all these groups I've got a network that actually provides me with lots of support and encouragement while making it easier for me to get the job done. And I think all too often in our workplaces we're after that individual success, and we try to be self-sufficient. You know, Western society is an interesting thing where you are successful in life if you're an independent adult and not reliant on other people, yet it's actually a little bit at odds with how humans are supposed to be. So you've got to make sure that you surround yourself with your support network. So even though at the end of the day it's really up to me to do the training sessions, make the gains and get the hard work done, there's no way that I'd actually even know what to do without having all these people around us. And you also need to make sure that you identify the right people. Make sure that it's the people that you need, not necessarily just the people that you want. I don't want to be surrounded with people patting me on the back saying, well done, good job, you look amazing out there, when I know that I've got snot dried to my face and I smell funny. You know, I need people that are actually going to give me practical advice. They're going to help me out when I need to help them, when I need to help. So the people that you need, not just the people that you want. Communication with your support crew is also really important. So Make sure that you are really honest and open and clearly communicate with your project teams about what's needed, when it's needed, what the plan is, what tasks need to be done, and also a bit of progress as well. How's everything going? Be really honest, you know, oh, we're running a little bit late on that. It's really hard for them to know what to do and how to support you if they actually don't honestly know what's happening. So as athletes passionately pursuing a challenging sport, we actually really want to be supported, and many of our family and friends want to support us, but sometimes the expectations and demands on the support element can be really daunting, can be confusing, it might be a bit intense for our supporters to handle, and this is really true in a workplace environment as well. So make sure that you're kind to your support crew, keep them in the loop. Make sure that they're well informed and that they know the best way to help you. Also, never lie to your coach. I found that out the hard way. Your coach will always find out. So just be really honest. The best way to achieve something is to be really open about where you're at, how you're feeling, and what progress is being made, if anything. And be honest about that. You know, if you feel like you're going backwards, then tell them. So also as the athlete, or even, you know, as a project sponsor, don't forget to reward your crew for their hard work. In my case, it's taking my partner out for dinner or buying a nice bottle of wine or something like that. But you might want to do something a little different for your workies. Because even though that I might have swum and bike and run an ungodly number of miles, they've also suffered in a different way through every stroke and stride that I've done. And they're also likely to be just as weary and exhausted. So they don't get the finish line, they don't get the medal and the t-shirt or the bragging rights, but they still need to be rewarded for their efforts as well. So keep that in mind in both your personal and workplace pursuits. Okay, let's move on to point number 2. Do your laundry. Okay, so this is about having a plan and being prepared. So in the army, we have a phrase, it's gears before beers. And what this means is that no matter how tired you are and how much you just want to relax, stop, put your feet up, grab that beer and chill out, you actually first have to get all your kit cleaned up and packed away. You have to get organised for the next phase. You have to do all the tasks that need to be done to finish off one phase before you can move on to the next and before you can relax. So this is all about thinking ahead, preparing ahead, and planning. So for a triathlete, this means doing your laundry, getting your training gear ready for the next day, planning out your meals, packing your food for the next day, or even you know, cooking up your lunches or your dinners for the week and freezing them, filling up your water bottles, figuring out what your schedule and timings are going to be for the next few days and tell your support crew. And you do all of that before you sit down to relax and unwind. And this is actually really hard. Often I'll come home from a hard training session and I just want to collapse onto the sofa, read a book and have a cup of tea. But you've got to be a bit disciplined about it. You've got to think ahead, finish one phase, get everything squared away before you move on to the next phase. So make sure that when you're switched on, you're on. Yep. Keep your focus about you. So I only relax when everything's done for the day. And this is true for both training and for work. I'm focused and I'm in the moment, always thinking ahead, planning the next task. So don't leave your stinky laundry lying around for someone else to do. So not only will that make them unhappy, but it could risk you having you might not have the right training gear for the next day. And no one likes a naked cyclist. Okay, point number 3, that one was quick. Do your laundry, team. Point number 3, get the right gear for the job. So New Zealanders take pride in their number 8 wire attitude. I know that many library systems and even librarians have made an art form out of doing things on the smell of an oily rag. I know I'm guilty of it in the past. You see what needs to be done and you just go out and get it done, no matter if you've got the resources or not. But there's a few lines here that I really think shouldn't be crossed. So the first one's based on safety. The second one is about non-negotiables, and another one is based on success and effectiveness. So from a safety perspective, there's a bare number of resources that is required to ensure that there's no harm done. I know that in our workplaces, we all have to be extremely health and safety compliant, and you know, we don't want anybody to get hurt. So you've got to bear in mind when you're embarking on something, what do I need from a safety perspective to make sure I'm not going to get hurt or anyone around me isn't going to get hurt. So I was having to face going swimming and running and cycling at all hours of the day and night, and I didn't want to be a hazard to myself or to others. So this meant getting the resources I required as a first priority from a safety point of view. I needed a wetsuit for open water swimming so I didn't die of the cold. I needed a bike, helmet and shoes. I actually had to buy a bike as well. What triathlete who starts training for an Ironman doesn't have a bike? Me. You know, a puncture repair kit, lights and reflective clothing. These were these health and safety minimums. And so early on in my training plan, I had to budget for these resources and incorporate them into the plan. I couldn't actually go much further without them. These were like first things I needed to do. Okay, so the non-negotiables are the things that you actually have to have in order to complete the project. So the project actually, you're not going to get to that finish line without them. So for example, with Ironman, you have to cycle 180 kilometers. I can't do that without a bike. So clearly a bike is a non-negotiable resource. And with a bike, you need a helmet, and you need shoes, and you need clothing. So there's a few things that actually you can't get to the finish of the project without having these things there. So make a list of those as well. And then there's the success and effectiveness. So this is about getting the best resources within the project budget. So too often we see if something is going out for contract or for tender, the lowest bidder wins the contract, the people that can do the work for the least outlay of cost. Now, while this might get the job done, it can often mean a compromise. And from my perspective doing Ironman, it was going to make success even more challenging if I was going to turn up with a donkey at a horse race. So I'd already set myself a really difficult goal to do Ironman, and I didn't want to make it too much harder for myself by having poor quality gear and risking my dream of success. So unfortunately, though I've tried and traveled the world and hunted for, I've never managed to find a money tree. I don't know if anyone has. I've never won lotto. I don't have unlimited funds. I did have a budget that I needed to work through. So I had to prioritize what I spent my money on, where I could spend up and where I could skimp. Which gear was actually going to have the most impact on the successful outcome of my goal? Was it going to be a bike, running shoes, nutrition, a sun visor, socks, wetsuit, sunscreen? I could spend a huge amount of money on some fancy L'Oreal sunscreen, but was it actually going to get me to the finish line? Investing a lot of money and time into something that's cool and looks really good, but actually wasn't really going to help towards my success was going to be a waste of time and money. So with getting the right gear for the job, I was looking at that finish line goal and working backwards and seeing which things are going to have the biggest impact on getting me there, and prioritizing my wish list and allocate funds accordingly. Certainly when I was starting to buy all my gear, I was being really careful with that. And then as I've gone through the training year and you know, more money has gone into the pot, I've managed to fill the gaps and buy some nicer and buy some things that just, you know, they look good. But yeah, initially when I was starting, it was all about prioritizing the things that were going to have the highest impact on the outcome. And this is something that I do with in my workplace as well. It might not necessarily just be resources, it could be time. So when you're looking at your 8-hour workday or your 40-hour working week, have a think about how you allocate your time, which tasks are going to have the biggest outcome on the success of the project or whatever it is that you're working on, and make sure you allocate the time accordingly. I know it's nice to sit there and check some, you know, social media feeds or read a blog or, you know, check your emails, but if they're not going to have you know, a big impact on the outcome of what you're working on, then perhaps they just go down the priority list. Okay, point number 4. You can't outswim sharks. So this is me looking really excited about going on my first ocean swim, my training year, and you'll see I'm holding a pot on my hand called Shark Off. So this is my partner has a great sense of humour, and this was his idea of helping me get rid of my fear about swimming in the open water. And yeah, that's another thing. So I'm about to do Ironman and swim 3,800 metres in deep, cold water, and I actually have a fear of swimming in deep, cold water. So it's a really big challenge for me to change my running feet from being firmly on the ground to kicking out in the ocean. This is actually a little bit of an ordeal. So my first ocean swim was a few weeks ago here in Wellington, and I liberally applied shark off all over me, and I'm still alive, so yeah, it worked. Yeah, so there are some things that you can't change, no matter how hard you try. So it's really best to identify these things and just cease worrying about them. Don't let them consume you and prevent you from attempting things or going for your goals. So no matter how much swim training I do, I will never be able to outswim my seagoing nemesis, those sharks and those jellyfish and orcas and, you know, those things. They're always going to be able to swim faster than me. I maybe swim, at this stage I could probably swim about 2 kilometers in an hour, maybe 3 kilometers an hour, and they can swim about 40 kilometers an hour. So there's no point even worrying about it. I decided that I just wasn't even going to care. I'm never going to be able to outswim sharks. So boom, my fear was just dismissed straight away. I wasn't about to not get in the water, because clearly I have to be able to do that in order to do triathlons. So I just decided that my fear wasn't going to become an obstacle for me. I was going to keep my eyes on the goal, keep my eyes on the finish line, and not let them get in the way. If something matters to you enough, then the obstacles don't. So also another way of looking at it is that actually I don't have to be able to outswim sharks. I just have to be able to outswim someone else in the water so that the shark picks them off instead. So that's called tactics. That's an army thing right there. There you go. I just have to be faster than that person. Yep, so don't let your fears become your obstacles, and don't bother, you know, like getting caught up on the things that you can't change. Just identify them and move on. And also get a pot of shark off. It's really amazing. Okay, point number 5. Fuel up, otherwise known as eat lots. Okay, so training for about sort of 15 to 20 hours a week turns me into this rabid, starving individual. And I eat a lot of food. I have to. Eating for me comes in 3 stages. This is relevant. First of all, I have to fuel up. Secondly, I have to feed the system. And the third stage is recovery. So food is a resource for me. Yeah, I enjoy food. I love eating, but it's also, for me at the moment, it's a training resource. I have to ensure that I have the right resources before the training session or the event in order to make sure that I'm in the best condition possible at the start and ready to go. So during the event or the training session, I need the food, the resources to keep me going and get me to the end, to help me maintain my level of effort right the way through. And afterwards, I also need to make sure I have the right resources to help me recover, to fill the gaps in what I've used, replace what I've lost, and also to get me ready for the next event. So this is a little bit about you know, making sure that you've allocated the right resources to the right stages of the project. So I eat different foods for the first stage when I'm fueling up for training. I eat different things when I'm actually training and doing an event so that I can maintain my level of effort. And I eat something different altogether for recovery. So you know, it's not equally applied food all the way through that. It's different things at different times to make sure I can do what I want to do. But in saying that, it's okay to eat cake. So make sure that you relax and enjoy yourself as well. Don't forget to incorporate into the project the unwind time, the celebration, the pat on the back, the well done, and the beer and the cake as well. So that's probably stage 4. There's no point in being miserable while trying to achieve your goals. Always make sure that in your daily workplace that you spend a bit of time congratulating yourself and celebrating your success and your achievements and reflecting on what you managed to do. No one likes practice and training sessions, but you know, you've got to get them done. And if you show the appropriate level of respect for the process, the results will come, and then you just need to celebrate the results as well. So I always try and plan in advance what I'm going to need to fuel myself through my training, my events. I try and think about the week ahead, and I do this in my workplace as well. Every Monday I've got a process where I look at the week ahead and a little bit beyond that, and I try and plan out what I'm going to do and allocate all my time and my resources. I always make sure that I've got the fuel that I need. If I do have a bad training session, or you know, I'm lacking energy in some way or another, and you can translate this into things didn't quite go so well in my project, then I look back at what I've eaten over the last 12 hours and try to identify the problem. So this means that I can learn from my mistake and then modify my behaviour going forward. So if something goes a bit wonky in your project and maybe the effort wasn't sustained throughout, or something didn't quite go to plan, make sure you reflect on that and learn from that process and modify it for future projects. So at a basic level, I need to ensure that I manage my time well enough to fit in a lunch break and also tea breaks into my work day, something that didn't necessarily happen in the past, but I'm actually getting a lot better at taking lunch breaks in my work day now. Otherwise, like, my training sessions after work would be really abysmal as well. So make sure that you take time to rest and relax during your work day so that you're prepared for what lies ahead. Okay, we're getting there, team. Good training, good training. Okay, number 6. Get back on the bike. All right, so that cyclist in the front there wearing the black is me. This was a Saturday cycle around Wellington City. And the person in the pink and the blue, that's my coach. So she's chasing me up the road. Okay, getting back on the bike. Now, early on in my training, I did a cycling event in the Wairarapa. It was an 80-kilometre fun ride, and it was on an extremely windy day, and the wind was gusting over the Rimatakas and dumping down onto the road that we were cycling on, and some of the wind gusts were hitting about 140 k's an hour. We all thought that the event was going to be called off, but it went ahead. And as we were cycling down the road, all the cyclists were sort of weaving like this to sort of getting pushed around by the wind. And at one point, a wind gust basically just hit my bike. I left the road, I was collected up in the wind gust, and I was thrown through a ditch and into a barbed wire fence. And it was quite an extraordinary sort of thing. And I was okay, like I wasn't injured, but it was straight away, I just got back on the bike. I didn't even think about it, and just cycled off down the road to try and catch up with everybody else. And I was really proud of myself for not hesitating there, because I was a really new cyclist, and 80 kilometres at that stage probably wasn't going to be my longest ride I've ever done. And I just didn't even think about it, just got on that bike. And it was probably more because I was almost a bit embarrassed about being blown off the bike on a windy day. But I think if I had have hesitated, I would have started to sort of debate what had happened. Maybe the doubts would have crept in. My confidence could have been knocked a little bit. So any hesitation that you make when something goes wrong will allow worry and doubts to creep up on you, and can often just like prolong that hesitation. Your motivation can slump as well. So my advice to you is that if you derail a little bit, which we all do from time to time, whether it's a project or just in our daily work lives, just jump back on that bike and cycle like mad to catch up, push the incident into your past, and just keep your eyes on that end goal, on that finish line, and head towards it. Another key thing here is to cultivate discipline over motivation. A lot of people say, but how do you stay motivated? And I say, well, I don't. I'm not always motivated, but what I am is disciplined. Motivation is really important, for sure. I mean, it's what got me to register for Ironman in the first place, but it's actually discipline that keeps me going when motivation has the day off, and we all have those days. Not every day do I want to jump out of bed and head down to the pool at 6 a.m. for swim training, but I'm disciplined enough to do it. And discipline also helps me balance out my work and my training as well, so that sometimes when I turn up to work in the morning, I'm already tired. I've already done a few hours training and I'm exhausted, but my motivation isn't there for work. And but the discipline is what will get me turning on my computer, checking my messages, planning out my week ahead, my day ahead. Motivation is doing what needs to be done, when it needs to be done, and when you want to do it, which is great. But discipline is doing what needs to be done, when it needs to be done, but when you don't want to do it, which is even better. So make sure you cultivate your discipline. A sense of discipline will get you through the tough bits and help you get back on the bike when you have a bit of a wobble. Number 7. Now, as someone who's crazy about fitness, you'd think this was a bit of weird advice. Don't take the stairs. I love this picture. This is actually a gym in America, of all places, as you'd probably expect, where they've got a very small flight of stairs leading up into a gym, but they've put in these up and down escalators, which people are taking. And at the moment, if this was me, I'd be taking those escalators. Before I signed up for Ironman, I'd be the person jogging up the stairs and making everybody else feel bad. And like in the Wellington Central Library where my office is, we've got escalators, we've got lifts, but we also have stairs that go between the 3 stories of the library. And I was always the person going up and down the stairs. I wouldn't take the lift or the escalators unless I really had to. But these days I take the lifts. So this point is about efficiency of effort, like the economy of effort here. So nowadays I make sure that I save my energy for the important stuff. If you sweat the small stuff, you'll compromise your ability to actually deal with the big stuff. So these days I'm a lift taker, not a stair taker anymore. Clearly, if you are looking to get fit and healthy, I recommend taking the stairs, but that's not my point here. That was just my health and safety disclaimer there. So the reason I take the lift now is sometimes it's because my legs are tired from training and I'm trying to make sure that they're recovered properly for the next session. That's part of it, but the real reason is actually that I'm saving my effort for the important stuff. So you have sort of a finite amount of time and effort and resources, and I need to allocate them accordingly to the bits that are going to be the most effective. So by expending energy on taking the stairs, I'm using up resources that could be better used for that evening's run training session or a long cycle on the weekend. I can use the lift instead. There's another option available to me. There's a better use of my energy resources by taking the lift, and that means I'll be better rested. And by making sure that I'm allocating my energy to the training sessions rather than running up and down the stairs at work, that means that my training sessions will be better, and there'll be a bigger impact on my skill and my overall fitness than anything that a few flights of stairs will do during the day. So don't use up time, energy and resources on things that aren't getting you towards your goal or could even subtract from your ability to get towards your goal. So we all work in an environment where there's limited resources, so just make sure that you use them intelligently and just apply them at the right time in the right place. Don't sweat the small stuff as well. Don't get worried about the little things if it's going to subtract from your ability to deal with the things that really matter. Yep. So don't take the stairs. And the last one, the only thing that's stopping you is you, actually. If you want something bad enough, you find a way to get it done. So you need to make sure that you are stronger than your excuses. It's really easy to come up with excuses. I know, I'm like an expert at it, but I know that I can be stronger than my excuses. So always remember that you get what you settle for. So if you settle for, that'll do, oh, it's okay, yep, good enough, then that's what you get. You get good enough. You don't get well done. You don't get excellent. So only settle for the best that you can do. And remember that strength doesn't come from what you can do. It comes from overcoming the things that you once thought that you couldn't do. So I thought that, Ironman was sort of a bit of an impossible dream, but I'm kind of like, heading towards it. And I can do things now that I couldn't do last year already. So I'm feeling a lot stronger because I'm managing to overcome the things that I didn't think I could do. Have some discipline and stick with the plan. Yes, things are hard, and we often have to do things we don't want to do. But remember that what was once the actual workout will eventually become your warm-up. So if you stick with it and you have a bit of discipline, you follow the plan, you make a plan and you follow it, then eventually you'll be better equipped to deal with things, and you'll have a better capacity to take things on. And when I say make a plan, you've got to make a flexible plan and stick with it. So make sure that you throw in other options so that if there's bad weather and you can't go ocean swimming, then you can jump in the pool instead. So it doesn't mean that you don't do something, it just means that you do find a different way of doing things. Make sure that you make sure that you show the appropriate level of respect or even affection for the process of getting something done. Don't always just think about that finish line and that end result. It's a big thing in my mind, and I've always got it there, and I'm always heading towards it. But I can't forget about the process of getting there. It's just as important. If you respect the process, the results will come, and your hard day will eventually become your easy day down the track. Just keep going, just stick with it. Have faith in the process that'll get you there. Also, remember that many things aren't equal, but we are all given the same 24 hours a day and 7 days a week. People often say to me, but how do you fit it all in? It's like, well, you always find the time for the things that you are really motivated to do and that you really want to do. We make time for what we truly want. One of the things I get as a librarian is, but how do you find the time to read all these books? Or people say, but I don't have time to read books. So we've got the same amount of time in the day as me. It's all about you prioritizing what you want to do. So I decided I wanted to be an Ironman, and I also love my job. And rather than have these two passions colliding and competing for my time, I'm making time for both by actually making sure that they mesh and that they complement each other, so making sure that one benefits the other. If you're looking to improve your life, but you aren't actually willing to improve yourself, then you're not going to get anywhere, are you? So all it takes is for you to work a little bit harder than you feel that you did yesterday. That's it. You don't have to become an Ironman overnight. You just have to be a little bit better than you were yesterday, a little bit at a time, and those are the gains that you make. And that's point number 8. So don't let you stop yourself from doing what you want to do. And the last slide, my advice, you only live once, so you might as well be a badass. Give things a go, take a few risks, and get things done. So this picture, by way of explanation, we're not the Army combat netball team. This was actually a competition that the Defence Force runs every year for, it's like a first aid, like a medical competition. And in teams, so we're a team of 4 soldiers there. We had to compete all day through different stands that all had a medical focus. So this one, these are high velocity paintball rifles that we had to shoot people with. It was great. And the netball bibs are just to identify us as a team. And yeah, that's me standing on the far left there. So if you want to contact me, you can find me on Twitter. That's my handle down the bottom, Adrienne Hannan. And feel free to email me as well at adrienne.hannan@wcc.govt.nz. So happy to field any questions that you have, or even if you just want to find out a little bit more about what Wellington libraries are up to for children's and youth services. Doesn't always have to be about Ironman. And if there are any people that are budding triathletes or ultra runners, or even not even at that level, just like at a lower level, then I'm really happy to tell you about what I'm up to as well. So I'm just really happy to have a conversation, clearly. So that's my session for today. So does anyone have any questions now while we're still online? Hang on, I think you guys might be muted. Hang on. Technology will not be an obstacle. Okay, there you go. I can hear you guys now. You were muted before. So if you did have any questions either now or throughout the session, speak, unleash. Yeah, they're all shy. Okay. Oh, we'll sign off here then. Remember, you can always watch this again from the LIANZA website. We've been recording, so you'll be able to tune in from there and watch the presentation again.
Yay!
Done. Right, I've got to go off to training now.
You were amazing.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for listening in.
Is it still recording? I don't know if you did that.
Are we still recording? How do we turn this thing off? Is it? How do we?
You're the